Kate Morgan floated inside her small ship called Pathfinder. She was mapping asteroids in the far reaches of our solar system. This was her 10th mission, and so far, it had been quiet and routine. Kate liked quiet. She liked knowing what would happen next. She checked her instruments and yawned. 4 more hours until she could sleep. A loud beep from her radar made her jump. Something big had appeared nearby. Kate's heart raced as she turned her ship around. There, gleaming in the distant sunlight, was a ship unlike anything humans had ever built. It was huge, at least 5 times bigger than her Pathfinder, with a hull that seemed to change colors as it moved, like the inside of a seashell. "This is Lieutenant Kate Morgan of Earth Exploration Force. Please identify yourself," Kate said into her communication system. Her voice sounded steady, but her hands shook as she gripped the controls. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then a voice answered. It sounded female, but with a strange musical quality that no human voice had. "Greetings, Earth Explorer. I am Lyra, combat scout of the Canis Majora. I come from the star you call Sirius." Kate stared at the screen in shock. First contact. She was making first contact with an alien species, and she was all alone, millions of miles from Earth. "Request permission to board your vessel," the voice continued. "I come in peace and wish to speak with you directly. Every training manual said to be cautious with unknown entities in space." But something in the alien's voice made Kate trust her. "Permission granted," Kate said. "I'm opening the airlock now." A bright light appeared between the 2 ships. Kate watched as a figure moved through the light and into her airlock. She grabbed the small gun that all pilots carried and tucked it into her belt. Just in case. The inner door of the airlock opened, and Kate got her first look at an alien from another world. Lyra stood slightly taller than Kate. She looked mostly human in shape, with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. But that's where the similarities ended. Her skin had a silvery blue color with faint patterns like a coat of fur. Her eyes were large and amber with pupils that were vertical slits, like a cat's. Most striking were her ears. Pointed and mobile, they moved as she looked around the ship. "Your vessel is small," Lyra said. Her mouth formed human words perfectly, but her accent was unlike any on Earth. "It's just an exploration ship," Kate explained, still staring. "Not meant for long journeys or combat." At the word combat, Lyra's ears perked up. "Combat is my specialty," she said, "and the reason I have sought contact with your species." Kate gestured to the small table with 2 chairs that served as both her dining area and meeting space. "Would you like to sit down and explain?" Lyra moved with grace that seemed impossible in the ship's artificial gravity. Kate noticed that the alien's feet had an unusual shape, almost like she was always walking on her toes. "My people have been watching Earth for many years," Lyra began. "We have observed your development, your wars, your technological progress. You are young as a spacefaring species, but you show unusual potential." "Potential for what?" Kate asked. "For survival," Lyra said simply. "There is a threat moving through our part of the galaxy. We call them the Void Locusts. They are a species that consumes all organic matter on planets they invade. They leave nothing alive." Kate felt a chill. "And they're coming here? To our solar system?" Lyra's ears flattened against her head. "Yes. We estimate they will reach your outer planets within 6 months. My people have fought them for decades, but we need allies. That is why I am here." Kate's mind raced with the implications. An alien invasion, a threat to all life on Earth. And here she was, the only human who knew about it. "I need to report this to Earth immediately," Kate said, turning to her communication system. "Of course," Lyra agreed. "But first, you should know that my mission has a second purpose." Kate looked back at the alien. "What's that?" "Among my people, finding compatible beings from other species is highly valued. It proves our adaptability, which is our most prized trait." Lyra's eyes seemed to glow slightly brighter. "When our scouts detected your ship, I volunteered to make contact because your biological readings suggested compatibility." "Compatibility?" Kate repeated, not understanding. For what? For bonding, Lyra said. What you might call marriage. Kate nearly fell out of her chair. Marriage? But we just met, and we're different species from different planets. Lyra made a sound that might have been a laugh. The Majora can form biological bonds with compatible species. It is rare but highly honored. And in times of war, such bonds create powerful alliances. Wait, Kate said, holding up her hands. You're saying you came here to warn us about an alien invasion and to find a mate? Precisely, Lyra said, as if this were the most normal thing in the universe. My people believe that those who fight together form the strongest bonds, and Earth will need to fight very soon. Before Kate could respond, her communication system beeped. Earth Command was calling, probably wondering why she had gone off her planned route. Lieutenant Morgan, please explain your current position, came the stern voice of Admiral Willis. Kate looked at Lyra, who watched her with those strange amber eyes. How could she possibly explain this situation? Admiral, Kate began, I've made contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence. She's friendly, but she brings news of an imminent threat to Earth and… Kate hesitated. She's currently sitting across from me in my ship. There was a long silence from Earth Command. Could you repeat that, Lieutenant? The Admiral finally asked. Ma'am, I think you'd better prepare the welcome committee, Kate said. We're about to have our first official meeting with aliens, and we're going to need their help. As Kate explained the situation to her shocked superior, Lyra watched with interest. The alien's ears twitched occasionally, and her eyes never left Kate's face. There was something in that gaze that made Kate feel both nervous and excited. This was not how Kate had expected her routine mission to go. In just 1 hour, she had met an alien, learned of a threat to all life on Earth, and apparently been evaluated as marriage material by a being from another star system. And somehow, Kate knew that this was just the beginning of the strangest journey of her life. The weeks after first contact passed in a blur for Kate. Earth's leaders had been shocked but acted quickly. Lyra's ship was now docked at the new Space Defense Station, and Kate had been assigned as Lyra's official human guide and partner. Today, they were in the zero-gravity training room. Lyra moved like water in the weightless environment, her body twisting and turning with perfect control. Kate tried to copy her movements but ended up spinning helplessly. You think too much with your brain, Lyra said, reaching out to stop Kate's spin. Feel the space around you with your body. Kate nodded and tried again. This time she focused less on the exact movements and more on the feeling of floating. It worked better. She managed to push off one wall and land precisely where she wanted, on the opposite side. Good. Lyra's ears perked up in what Kate now recognized as happiness. You learn quickly for a human. Thanks, I think, Kate said, smiling. Working with Lyra every day had been strange at first, but now it felt natural. The alien warrior had taught her more about combat in 3 weeks than she had learned in 3 years of Earth training. Now we practice Shirvaka, Lyra announced, referring to the major-end martial art she had been teaching Kate. I'm still sore from yesterday's practice, Kate admitted. Lyra tilted her head. Your muscles develop when they repair after use. The soreness means you are becoming stronger. Kate couldn't argue with that logic. Okay, show me the move again. For the next hour, they practiced fighting techniques designed for zero gravity. Lyra's style used quick, sharp movements that reminded Kate of how wolves fight. There was a beauty to it, a deadly grace that fascinated her. During one move, Lyra caught Kate around the waist to demonstrate a proper hold. Their bodies pressed close together in the weightless environment. Kate suddenly noticed a sweet smell coming from Lyra, like cinnamon and something else she couldn't name. Your scent has changed, Lyra said quietly, her face very close to Kate's. What do you mean? Kate asked, suddenly aware of how fast her heart was beating. When Majora are attracted to someone, our bodies produce different chemicals, Lyra explained. I can smell that your body is doing the same thing. Kate pulled away slightly, embarrassed. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Why are you sorry? Lyra looked genuinely confused. Attraction is natural, especially between warriors who train together. Before Kate could respond, the station's alarm blared. Both women immediately pushed toward the exit and rushed to the command center. Admiral Willis was already there, her face grim as she looked at the large screen showing the outer solar system. "We've detected unusual activity near Neptune," the Admiral said as Kate and Lyra entered. "It matches the pattern Lyra described for Void Locust scout ships." Lyra's ears flattened against her head. "They're earlier than we predicted. Have you contacted my people?" "The message has been sent," Admiral Willis confirmed. "But it will take time for your fleet to arrive. We need to prepare Earth's defenses now." Kate looked at the screen, trying to make sense of the blurry images. "Those are really them? The Void Locusts?" Lyra nodded grimly. "Just their advanced scouts. The main swarm will follow. We must prepare." The next few days were filled with frantic activity. Earth's limited space fleet was mobilized, weapons were prepared, and evacuation plans for major cities were developed. Through it all, Kate and Lyra worked side by side, barely sleeping. One night, as they finally returned to Kate's quarters to rest, Lyra seemed unusually quiet. "What's wrong?" Kate asked, sitting on her bed and removing her boots. "In my culture," Lyra began, pacing the small room, "warriors often form bonds before battle. It gives them strength, something to fight for." Kate watched her move back and forth. "You mean like friendship bonds?" "More than friendship." Lyra stopped pacing and faced Kate. "You know, I came here partly to find a compatible mate. What you may not understand is that I have found one." The room seemed suddenly smaller. "Me?" Kate asked, though she already knew the answer. "Yes." Lyra sat beside her on the bed. "Your hormone production indicates mutual attraction. On my world, this would be cause for courtship." Kate was silent, for a moment processing this. She couldn't deny her feelings for Lyra had grown beyond professional respect or even friendship. There was something between them that she couldn't explain. "What does courtship look like for your people?" she finally asked. Lyra's ears perked up in surprise and happiness. "You are interested in courtship?" "I'm interested in learning more," Kate said carefully. "This is all new to me. For Majora, courtship begins with gifts of food," Lyra explained. "The hunter provides for their chosen mate to show they can care for them." Kate smiled. "Is that why you've been bringing me those strange fruits from your ship's storage?" Lyra looked slightly embarrassed. "Yes, I hoped you would understand the meaning." "I didn't," Kate admitted. "But I liked them anyway." "The next stage involves creating a shared space, what you might call a home." Lyra gestured around Kate's quarters. "I've been adding things here. The blanket on your bed is made from fibers grown on my homeworld. The small light by your door is Majoran technology." Kate looked around with new eyes. She had noticed these additions but thought they were just friendly gifts or practical improvements. "And the final stage?" she asked, her voice softer now. "The final stage is a biological bond," Lyra said. "Among my people, mates share a chemical connection that links them physically. It is especially important during times of danger." Kate took a deep breath. "Lyra, I don't know if humans can form that kind of bond." "We can try," Lyra said simply. She reached out slowly and placed her hand on Kate's cheek. Her skin was warmer than a human's, and softer, despite its strange texture. Kate leaned into the touch without thinking. Something about Lyra felt right in a way she couldn't explain. "Admiral Willis won't like this," Kate murmured. "She already thinks I'm too close to you." "Leaders always worry about new alliances," Lyra said. "But sometimes, the strongest bonds form between individuals, not nations or planets." Their faces were very close now. Kate could smell that sweet cinnamon scent again. Without overthinking it, she leaned forward and pressed her lips to Lyra's. The kiss was strange at first. Lyra's mouth was shaped slightly differently than a human's, but they quickly found a rhythm that worked. When they finally pulled apart, Lyra's eyes were glowing brighter than Kate had ever seen them. "So this is how humans begin bonding," Lyra said with wonder in her voice. "We have similar customs, but not exactly the same." Kate laughed softly. "There's a lot more to human bonding than just kissing." "I look forward to learning all of it," Lyra said. Her expression grew serious again. "But first, we must survive the coming battle." As if summoned by her words, the station's alarm blared. Again, both women jumped up and rushed to get their gear. "Kate," Lyra said as they reached the door, "whatever happens, know that I chose you above all others. My people will honor that choice." Kate didn't fully understand what that meant, but the emotion behind it was clear. "I choose you too, Lyra," she replied. "Now let's go fight some space bugs." They ran toward the command center, ready to face whatever came next, together. The battle began at the edge of Neptune's orbit. Earth's hastily assembled fleet of 23 ships formed a defensive line, with Lyra's advanced scout vessel taking the lead position. Kate sat beside Lyra in the command chair, monitoring the enemy's movements on the glowing holographic display. "They're approaching in swarm formation," Kate said, pointing to the mass of signals moving toward them. "Just like you predicted." Lyra nodded, her ears flat against her head in concentration. "The first wave will be smaller scout vessels testing our defenses. The main hive ships will hang back until they find a weakness." Admiral Willis's face appeared on their communication screen. "All ships hold position and prepare to engage. Remember your training. These things aren't invincible." Kate glanced at Lyra, who was adjusting the ship's weapon systems. Last night seemed like a dream now, their kiss and talk of bonding pushed aside by the reality of imminent battle. But something had changed between them, a new awareness that Kate could feel even as they focused on the task at hand. "First contact in 30 seconds, the ship's computer announced in its calm voice. "I will protect you," Lyra said suddenly, reaching over to squeeze Kate's hand. Before Kate could respond, the first of the Void Locust ships appeared on their visual sensors. They looked nothing like Earth or Majoran vessels. Instead of metal and machinery, they appeared organic, like giant insects with translucent sections that pulsed with an inner light. Their surfaces were bumpy and irregular, covered in what looked like biological sensors. "Open fire when they cross the defensive line," Admiral Willis ordered. The Earth fleet fired in unison, energy weapons and missiles streaking toward the approaching enemy. Some found their targets, causing Void Locust ships to explode in bursts of strange greenish fluid. But many of the organic vessels moved with unexpected speed, dodging the attacks and returning fire with beams of intense energy. 2 Earth ships down, Kate reported, watching the display with growing horror. "They're breaking through the line." Lyra's hands flew over the controls, guiding their ship into a tight turn that brought them behind 3 Locust vessels. "Firing main cannons," she said calmly, and pressed the trigger. Blue energy beams shot from their ship, slicing through the enemy vessels with surgical precision. All 3 exploded. "Good shot," Kate exclaimed. But their victory was short-lived. A larger Locust ship appeared, at least 3 times the size of the Scouts. It fired a strange pulsing weapon that seemed to disrupt the Earthship's electronic systems. "We're losing control of half the fleet," Admiral Willis's voice came through, breaking up with static. "Fall back to Mars orbit. Repeat, fall back to..." The communication cut off. On the display, Kate watched in horror as the Admiral's flagship was surrounded by Locust vessels. "We have to help them," Kate said, already plotting a course. Lyra shook her head. "Their ship is lost. We must protect the retreat or all will be lost." Kate wanted to argue, but she knew Lyra was right. The battle was going badly. They needed to regroup. For the next hour, they fought a running battle, protecting the retreating Earth vessels while inflicting as much damage as possible on the pursuing Locusts. Lyra's skill as a pilot was amazing. She seemed to anticipate the enemy's movements before they happened, turning their single ship into a formidable weapon. Finally, they reached the relative safety of Mars orbit, where additional Earth defenses waited. The remaining fleet, now reduced to just 14 ships, formed a new defensive line. "We've lost 9 ships," Kate said, checking the casualty reports, including the Admiral's. Lyra's ears drooped in sympathy. They fought well. The Void Locusts are a terrible enemy, even for experienced warriors. A new voice came over the communication system. This is Colonel Pat Hansen taking command of Earth Defense Force. All ships report status. After the reports came in, the colonel's face appeared on their screen. She was an older woman with short gray hair and a face that showed both intelligence and weariness. "Lieutenant Morgan, is that you on the alien vessel?" she asked, squinting at the screen. "Yes, Colonel. I'm with Combat Scout Lyra of the Canis Majora," Kate replied. "Your ship performed exceptionally well out there," Colonel Hansen said. "We need every advantage we can get. When can we expect reinforcements from your people?" she asked, addressing Lyra directly. "The main Majoran battle fleet should arrive within 2 weeks," Lyra answered. "But the Void Locusts will attack again before then. They never stop once they begin an invasion." The colonel nodded grimly. "Then we hold the line at Mars. Lieutenant Morgan, continue working with your partner. We need that ship of yours in top fighting condition." "Yes, ma'am," Kate said. The screen went dark as the colonel moved on to speak with other ship commanders. Kate slumped in her chair, the adrenaline of battle fading and leaving her exhausted. "We're not going to make it 2 weeks, are we?" Lyra didn't answer immediately. She set the ship's systems to alert mode and stood up, stretching her limbs in a strangely graceful, animal-like movement. "Come," she said, holding out her hand to Kate. "We both need rest." They went to the small sleeping area of Lyra's ship. It was different from human quarters. The bed was circular and filled with soft materials that formed a nest-like structure. Lyra had explained once that Majora preferred to sleep curled up rather than lying flat. Too tired to care about the strangeness, Kate collapsed onto the nest bed. Lyra lay down beside her, their bodies fitting together naturally. In answer to your question, Lyra said softly, "Survival is always possible. My people have fought the Void Locusts for generations. We are still here." Kate turned to face her. In the dim light, Lyra's eyes glowed softly, like amber caught in sunlight. "I'm scared," Kate admitted. "Not just of dying, but of failing. If Earth falls, it will not fall," Lyra said with fierce certainty. "Not while I draw breath. Not while we fight together." She placed her hand on Kate's cheek just as she had the night before, but this time her palm glowed with a faint blue light. "What is that?" Kate asked, but didn't pull away. "The beginning of the bond," Lyra explained. "Among my people, when two warriors choose each other during wartime, a special connection forms. It helps us fight as one, sense each other's actions, protect each other." The blue glow spread from Lyra's hand to Kate's skin, creating a pleasant, warming sensation. "Will it hurt?" Kate asked. Lyra made a sound that was part laugh, part purr. "No, it feels like happiness, but in your body, not just your mind." She was right. As the glow spread across Kate's skin and was absorbed, a feeling of warmth and contentment filled her. She could sense Lyra's presence more strongly now, almost as if she could feel what the alien was feeling. "This is amazing," Kate whispered. Lyra leaned closer and touched her forehead to Kate's. "The bond will grow stronger with time. By the next battle, we will fight as true partners." They lay together in comfortable silence, the soft hum of the ship's systems the only sound. Despite the horror of the day's battle and the fear of what was to come, Kate felt strangely at peace. "Sleep now," Lyra murmured. "Tomorrow we plan our defense." Kate closed her eyes, still aware of the faint glow where their skin touched. Her last thought before drifting off was that whatever happened next, she wasn't alone anymore. She had found something rare and precious in the midst of war, a connection that transcended species and planets, and she would fight with everything she had to protect it. 3 days after the first battle, the Void Locusts attacked again. This time, Earth was better prepared. The remaining ships had been fitted with modifications based on Lyra's technology, making their weapons more effective against the organic hulls of the enemy vessels. Kate and Lyra's ship led a small strike team, aiming for what appeared to be a command node in the Locust formation. The bond between them had grown stronger, just as Lyra had predicted. Kate could sense her partner's intentions almost before Lyra moved, allowing them to work together with incredible precision. "Target locked," Kate said, her fingers dancing over the weapons console. "Firing on your mark." Lyra guided the ship through a complex series of evasive maneuvers, avoiding enemy fire while positioning them for the perfect shot. "Now," she commanded. The ship's main cannon fired, the blue energy beam striking the larger Locust vessel directly in its central section. The enemy ship shuddered, green fluid leaking from the wound in its organic hull. "Hit confirmed," Kate reported. "But it's still operational." Lyra growled, a sound that reminded Kate her partner wasn't human, despite their growing closeness. "Again," she said, swinging the ship around for another pass. Before they could fire again, 3 smaller Locust ships surrounded them, firing their disruptive energy weapons. The ship rocked violently as one beam struck their port side. "Shields." "At 60%, Kate called out. "We can't take much more of this." Lyra's ears flattened against her head as she pushed the ship to its limits, twisting and turning to avoid further hits. "We need to retreat and regroup with the others." Kate nodded and sent the signal to the rest of their strike team. As they turned to head back toward Mars, a massive energy beam from the wounded command ship struck them directly. The impact threw Kate from her chair. The lights flickered and alarms blared throughout the ship. She hit her head hard on a console as she fell, and everything went dark. Kate woke to the sound of growling. Opening her eyes slowly, she found herself lying in the nest bed in their quarters. Her head throbbed with pain. She tried to sit up, but a wave of dizziness forced her back down. The growling continued, and Kate realized it was coming from Lyra. The alien warrior stood protectively over her, facing the door. Lyra's posture was different than Kate had ever seen. She was crouched slightly, her hands curled as if ready to attack, and her eyes glowed with an intense light. "Lyra," Kate said weakly. "What's happening?" At the sound of Kate's voice, Lyra turned. Her expression shifted from fierce protectiveness to relief. "You are awake," she said, moving quickly to Kate's side. "You were injured when the ship was hit. I was worried." Kate touched her head gently and felt a bandage. "How long was I out?" "Almost 6 hours," Lyra said. "We are safe now, back with the fleet in Mars orbit. The battle is over for now." "Did we win?" Kate asked. Lyra made a gesture that Kate had learned meant partly in major and body language. "We destroyed several of their ships, including the command vessel, but they have retreated, not fled. They will return with greater numbers." Kate noticed that Lyra seemed different, more tense, more alert. Her movements were quicker, more animal-like than usual. "Are you okay?" Kate asked. "You seem, I don't know, different." Lyra sat on the edge of the nest bed, her ears twitching nervously. "There is something I must tell you about Major and biology," she began. "When we form a bond with a mate during times of war, our bodies change." "Change how?" Kate asked suddenly, concerned. "It is called the warrior's quickening, Shirvakna in my language. Our protective instincts become enhanced, our senses sharpen, and our—" Lyra paused, searching for the right word. "Our reproductive systems adapt." Kate blinked, not sure she had heard correctly. "Reproductive systems? What does that have to do with fighting a war?" "Everything for my people," Lyra explained. "The Majora evolved as pack hunters on a dangerous world. When facing mortal threats, our bodies are programmed to ensure the continuation of our genetic line. The bond we formed has triggered this response in me." Kate was starting to understand but couldn't quite believe what she was hearing. "Are you saying that we're—" Lyra placed a gentle hand on Kate's arm. "My body has analyzed your genetic structure through our bond. It has begun a process we call genetic synthesis, Genshira. I am carrying young that contain both our genetic material." Kate stared at her in disbelief. "That's impossible. We're different species from different planets. We can't reproduce together." "For humans, perhaps that is true," Lyra said. "But the Majora evolved specifically to be able to reproduce with compatible species. It is our greatest evolutionary advantage. We can create offspring that combine traits from both genetic sources. Kate tried to sit up again, and this time succeeded despite the dizziness. You're pregnant? With our... The closest word in your language would be puppies, Lyra said, her ears perking up slightly in what Kate recognized as embarrassment mixed with pride. Prepare yourself, human. We're having puppies. Kate's mind reeled with the implications. Not only was she in a relationship with an alien warrior, fighting a desperate space war against insect monsters, but now she was going to be a parent to a litter of hybrid alien babies. How is this even possible? She asked, more to herself than to Lyra. My reproductive system can extract genetic material through skin contact, Lyra explained. The glowing you saw when we bonded was part of this process. My body then recombines the genetic material to create viable embryos. It is happening faster than normal because of the war situation. How many? Kate asked, her voice barely above. A whisper. I sense 5 distinct life signatures, Lyra said, placing a hand on her abdomen, which Kate now noticed was slightly swollen. A good-sized litter for a first bonding. 5. She was going to have 5 half-alien children. Kate's head spun, and not just from her injury. This is a lot to process, she said finally. Lyra's ears drooped slightly. You are not pleased? Among my people, this would be a cause for great celebration, especially in wartime. Kate reached out and took Lyra's hand. I'm not unhappy, she said carefully. Just shocked. Humans don't reproduce this quickly or unexpectedly, and we definitely can't have 5 babies at once. The pups will develop faster than human children, Lyra assured her. And they will be born more developed than human infants. All Majoran. Young can walk shortly after birth. Kate tried to imagine little human-alien hybrid puppies running around their ship and couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. I must report this to Colonel Hansen, she said, suddenly remembering their military duties. She's going to think I've lost my mind. Is reproduction forbidden among your warriors? Lyra asked, genuinely confused. No, not forbidden, Kate explained. But it's unusual during active combat, and there are protocols. And that's for normal human pregnancies, not interspecies hybrid litters. Lyra looked concerned. Will your leaders try to separate us, or harm the pups? Kate squeezed her hand reassuringly. No, they won't do that. They might be shocked like I am, but they won't hurt you or our puppies. The word felt strange in her mouth, but what else could she call them? A knock at their door interrupted their conversation. Lieutenant Morgan, are you awake? It was Colonel Hansen's voice. Kate and Lyra exchanged a look. Yes, Colonel, please come in, Kate called. The door slid open and Colonel Hansen stepped inside. Her eyes widened slightly at the sight of Kate and Lyra sitting together on the nest bed, holding hands, but she quickly composed her expression. Glad to see you're recovering, Lieutenant, she said briskly. We need a full report on the battle. Your ship's data could help us prepare for the next attack. Of course, Colonel, Kate said, but there's something else you should know. She took a deep breath. Lyra and I have formed a bond, a partnership, and due to her species biology, we're expecting children. Together. Colonel Hansen's professional demeanor cracked. You're what? Puppies, Lyra said helpfully. We are having puppies. 5 of them. The colonel looked from Lyra to Kate and back again, her mouth open but no words coming out. I know it sounds crazy, Kate said, but it's apparently how her species forms alliances. The, reproductive aspect wasn't exactly planned. Colonel Hansen finally found her voice. Lieutenant Morgan, when I assigned you as liaison to our alien ally, I did not expect you to take the role quite so literally. Despite everything, her injury, the war, the shocking news of impending parenthood, Kate couldn't help but laugh. The situation was so far beyond normal military protocol that there wasn't really any appropriate response. After a moment, the colonel's stern expression softened slightly. I suppose in times like these, unusual alliances are to be expected. and God knows we need all the help we can get against these locust things. She straightened her uniform and became professional again. I expect that full report in 2 hours, Lieutenant, and congratulations, I suppose, to both of you. As the door closed behind the colonel, Kate turned to Lyra. Well, that went better than I expected. Lyra's ears perked up happily. She is a wise leader. She understands that our bond makes us stronger fighters, and our offspring will strengthen the alliance between our peoples. Kate placed her hand gently on Lyra's abdomen, trying to wrap her mind around the idea that new life was growing there. Life, that was partly hers. How long until they're born, she asked. The Majoran battle fleet arrived just in time. After weeks of holding the Void Locusts at bay, Earth's defenses were failing. The planet's remaining ships had retreated to Earth orbit, preparing for a last stand, when the sky lit up with hundreds of new vessels, sleek, powerful, and ready for battle. Kate stood with Lyra on the bridge of the Majoran flagship, watching as Commander Vela, Lyra's sister, issued orders to her fleet. The family resemblance was clear. Vela had the same silver-blue skin and amber eyes as Lyra, though her ears were slightly larger and marked with dark spots. The Void Locusts have never faced our full battle fleet, Vela said confidently. Today, we drive them from this system. Lyra stood proudly at Kate's side, her swollen abdomen now impossible to hide. The 5 puppies growing inside her had developed rapidly over the past 7 weeks, just as she had predicted. The Majoran warriors who had arrived with the fleet treated Lyra with great respect and looked at Kate with curious, approving eyes. My sister's bondmate, Vela had introduced Kate to the fleet's officers. She carries the future of our alliance in her womb. The battle that followed was unlike anything Kate had ever seen. The Majoran ships moved in perfect coordination, surrounding the Void Locust swarm and attacking from all sides. Earth's remaining vessels joined the fight, their weapons now fully upgraded with Majoran technology. Kate and Lyra coordinated communications between the human and Majoran forces, their bond allowing them to bridge the gap between the two species' fighting styles. When the last Locust ship exploded in a burst of green fluid, cheers erupted throughout the fleet. We did it, Kate said, squeezing Lyra's hand. We actually did it. Lyra's ears perked up happily, but then suddenly flattened against her head. Her face contorted in discomfort. What's wrong? Kate asked, instantly concerned. The pups, Lyra said, placing both hands on her abdomen. They come now. Kate's eyes widened in alarm. Now? But I thought we had another week. The battle's end has triggered the birth, Vela explained, hurrying to her sister's side. It is our way. When danger passes, new life begins. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Lyra was taken to a special birthing chamber on the flagship, attended by Majoran medics and human doctors who had volunteered to help with this unprecedented event. Kate stayed by her mate's side, holding her hand and marveling at how calm Lyra remained through the process. On my world, birth is celebrated as a warrior's victory, Lyra explained between contractions. The pain is a badge of honor. Kate, who had been researching human childbirth with growing horror for weeks, was grateful for Lyra's perspective. You're the bravest person I've ever met, she told her. When the first pup emerged, everyone in the room gasped. The tiny creature was unlike anything they had ever seen, a perfect blend of human and Majoran features. It had soft, downy fur in the same dark color as Kate's hair, but with Lyra's distinctive silver-blue markings. Its ears were pointed like Lyra's but smaller. Its eyes, when they blinked open, were amber with vertical pupils. A female, the Majoran medic announced, strong and healthy. Kate felt tears running down her face as the tiny pup was placed in her arms. The puppy, looked up at her with impossible intelligence in its newborn eyes. Hello, Kate whispered. I'm your mother. The word felt strange but right. 4 more pups followed. 2 more females and 2 males. Each was slightly different, showing various combinations of human and Majoran traits. They all had the pointed ears and amber eyes, but their fur patterns varied, and one male had 5 fingers like a human instead of the 4-fingered hands of the others. When all 5 pups were born, nestled together in a special warming bed, Lyra looked exhausted but proud. "They are beautiful," she said. "Strong. They will be great warriors someday." Kate looked at the tiny creatures, their little chests rising and falling as they slept. "Maybe they won't need to be warriors," she said softly. "Maybe they can grow up in peace." News of the birth spread quickly through both fleets. Colonel Hansen was among the first visitors, her usual stern expression softening at the sight of the pups. "Well, I'll be damned," she said. "They're actually kind of cute." More visitors followed, human scientists eager to study this biological miracle, Majoran warriors coming to pay respects to what they saw as the beginning of a powerful new bloodline, and curious crew members from both species who just wanted to see the strange hybrid babies. Kate's mother, Susan, arrived from Earth a week later, having taken the first available transport after hearing the news. Kate had been dreading this meeting, unsure how her practical, down-to-earth mother would react to alien grandchildren. She needn't have worried. Susan took one look at the pups, who were already growing rapidly and beginning to crawl, and fell instantly in love. "They have your eyes," she told Kate, holding the smallest female pup, who they had named Luna. "Well, your eye shape anyway. The color in those cat pupils are definitely not from our side of the family." Kate laughed. "They're growing so fast. Lyra says they'll be walking within another week." Susan nodded, watching as the largest male pup, Orion, attempted to stand on wobbly legs. "Your father would have loved this, you know. He always said there had to be other life out there." She looked over at Lyra, who was showing the other pups a simple Majoran game that involved tracking a small light with their eyes. "And he would have approved of her." "Really?" Kate asked, surprised. "She's brave, smart, and clearly loves you," Susan said simply. "That's all he would have cared about." As Earth and the Majora began formal alliance talks, Kate and Lyra were given special quarters on the space station that orbited Earth. The room was large enough for all 7 of them, with a central area designed like a Majoran nest where they slept together as a family. The pups continued to develop at an astonishing rate. By the end of their first month, all 5 were walking confidently and beginning to speak in a mix of English and Majoran. Their behavior was a fascinating blend of human and canine traits. They were curious and playful like human children, but also showed pack instincts, often moving together and looking to either Kate or Lyra as the pack leaders. Nova took apart the communication panel again, Kate told Lyra one evening as they watched the pups playing. Nova, their middle female, had shown an early aptitude for technology, much to the dismay of the station's maintenance crew. Lyra's ears twitched in amusement. "She has your curiosity. And your stubbornness," Kate replied with a smile. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching their unusual family. The 3 females, Luna, Nova, and Stella, were playing a complex game that involved pouncing and hiding, while the 2 males, Orion and Leo, were carefully constructing a tower from building blocks, showing remarkable coordination for their age. "I received news from home today," Lyra said after a while. "The High Council wishes to establish a permanent embassy on Earth. They have asked me to serve as the first ambassador." Kate turned to her in surprise. "That's a great honor, isn't it?" Lyra nodded, her ears perked up in happiness. "It is, and it means we can stay here, make our home on your world. The pups can know both cultures." Kate felt a wave of relief. She had been worried that Lyra might want to return to her homeworld, taking the pups with her. The thought of being separated from either her mate or her children was unbearable. "I'm glad," she said simply, leaning against Lyra's shoulder. "Earth needs you. I need you." Lyra made the soft purring sound that Kate had come to love. "We are pack now," she said. "We stay together." A small commotion drew their attention back to the pups. Leo had managed to climb onto a shelf and was looking down at his siblings with pride. "Leo, be careful," Kate called, starting to rise. "He is fine," Lyra assured her. "Majoran young are very agile, and he must learn his limits. Sure enough, Leo jumped down with surprising grace, landing softly on all fours before standing upright. Again, the other pups gathered around him, yipping in excitement at his achievement. They really are the best of both worlds, Kate said, watching them with pride. 2 months after the pup's birth, a ceremony was held to officially recognize the alliance between Earth and the Canis Majora. As Lyra's mate and the human parent of the first hybrid children, Kate was given a position of honor beside Colonel Hansen, who had been promoted to general after the successful defense of Earth. The ceremony was broadcast worldwide, and the 5 pups dressed in special outfits that combined Earth and Majoran styles became instant celebrities. People were fascinated by these adorable, intelligent creatures who represented the future of interspecies cooperation. There are reports of at least 20 more human Majoran couples forming among our troops, General Hansen told Kate after the ceremony. Your family has started quite a trend. Kate watched as Lyra showed the pups to a group of human and Majoran officials, explaining something about their development with obvious pride. It wasn't planned, Kate admitted, but I wouldn't change any of it. The general smiled, a rare expression, on her usually serious face. Sometimes the best alliances are the ones we don't see coming. That night, after the pups were finally asleep in their nest, Kate and Lyra stood by the window of their quarters, looking out at the earth below and the stars beyond. The void locusts are still out there, Lyra said quietly. They will return someday.